Hi guys, it's Joe. Welcome back. So let's just go straight into the video. So here I have the Stencils 360 tool. I inserted the 4¼ by 5½ paper guide there. So this is just your standard A2 size. And then here is the 8-inch guide ring for the stencil. And the stencil that I'll be using is the Mega Summer Blossom Stencils 360. So it's a 2-barrel stencil set. So you get this large 8-inch and then also a 4-inch. So here, instead of taping the guide ring to my work surface, I am taping the stencil to the guide ring so that I just turn the guide ring. So this is a new technique that I found very helpful and I'm testing out, and I saw this technique on Sharon's video in the Penguin Palace YouTube channel, so I'll put a link into the description box below. I believe she got this idea from Ardith, and if I can find that video I will also provide that link. So I'm going to start off with the Distress ink in Peacock Feathers, and I'm using these finger daubers. I wanted to see if I can just use this 8-inch stencil on a 4¼ by 5½ card to get a background. So I'm not used to making large cards, or I don't usually make large cards, which are what, 5 by 5 or 5½ by 5½, or even 6 by 6 cards. So I wanted to stay within the normal size that I do, which is A2. So I wanted to see how much of a background I can get using this particular stencil on my card. So here I'm turning the stencil guide at 30-degree intervals. So if you look on the Stencils 360 tool, that is actually the circle symbol. So I go ahead and use that symbol as my guide so that I can go ahead and ink the stencil with the peacock feather. So I'm done with that color for now, and then as I switch to the next color, I'm going to clean out my stencil with just a microfiber cloth and some water, and then I just make sure I clean it really well on the front and back side, and making sure that the stencil is dry. So here I'm just making sure also that my paper is secure so that it does not move. Okay, so I go ahead and place it back in the Stencils 360, and I switch to Wilted Violet, and that is a purple color there. This is actually a Distress Oxide ink, and then the other one was just your regular Distress ink. So I'm going to again go with the circle guide, but I'm going with the circle outline instead so that I can get the purple between the peacock feathers that I had already inked up. So I'm just filling up the empty spaces with the Wilted Violet on the stencil. And I really like how I can use the stencil guide, and I could also see through the stencil to see where I am applying the ink to. So I'm pretty much done with the 8-inch stencil there, and I clean out the stencil. Here is the 4-inch. I insert my 4-inch guide ring, line up the star symbol to the starting point, and then here I'm taking some washi tape, and again I am taping the stencil to the actual guide ring so that I can turn the guide ring instead of the stencil. And so far I'm liking this technique on how to use this stencil with the guide ring. It takes a little bit getting used to on how to lift up the stencil and turn it. It's sticking to my surface a little bit because I think my workspace, the rubber silicone mat, makes it a little bit difficult for me to turn the guide ring because it is a little bit, I guess, tacky. There is some resistance, but I think if you do it on a smooth surface that doesn't have that grip, it'll turn more smoothly. So here I'm using the peacock feathers again with a finger dauber, and I applied the stencil using the solid circle symbol on the Stencils 360 tool, and then I switch out the color, I clean out the stencil, and I'm back with the Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink. So my battery ran out there, but I went ahead and recharged it. So here I'm filling in the gaps where I want to apply the Wilted Violet, and for this color I used the circle outline as my guide so that I could fill in the gaps between the peacock feather color. So I go ahead and just finish that stencil up, and I'm pretty much done. So when I lifted up the stencil guide ring, I really like how the pattern filled up most of my A2 size card. So here is the finished pattern on this size of a paper, and I really like how it turned out. So you can use any size cardstock that you want as your base, and then you can cut up your stenciled piece to whatever size you want, but I just wanted to go ahead and do it directly to the size that I want the stenciled pattern on. So here I use the Words from the Heart Coordinating Penguin Perfect Cuts to cut that aqua teal cardstock, and I used the circle also in that kit. The stamped and colored images that I am using for this card are from the stamp set The More We Get Together, and I had already pre-colored this. So I'm using the sentiment, "You have my seal of approval." There's that cute little seal on that little iceberg there, and then there's a coral piece in that stamp set, and then there's also a little cute little cat in like a blowfish costume. Here is another image. It's either a rock, or even you can also color it to be ice. And then I added the starfish little critter there. And then I go ahead and adhere the sentiment. So to make the shaker window, I went ahead and used the hexagon die and cut it out of the teal cardstock. I centered the circle die in the middle of that die cut and cut it out. So that is my little frame there. And then I went ahead and got that hexagon die again and cut some acetate sheet to seal off the window. So that is my cute little scene on the front of that shaker window there. So next I go ahead and put this card together. I'm applying my little stenciled piece to my card, and it's an A2 card measured at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I go ahead and start putting the shaker bits inside the shaker window. So here I'm just prepping my window frame here by taking off the adhesive backing. I have some iridescent purple aqua round sequins there, and then also some star sequins. I go ahead and center that in the middle because I don't want it to get caught on the foam adhesive. So now I'm just making sure that my card is all nice and straight, and then I apply the shaker window to seal off those sequins, and that is my completed card. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video using the new Stencils 360, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.